Have you ever wondered why two people can face the exact same situation, yet one is broken by it, while the other grows stronger? Why is it that a cruel word can linger in our hearts for years, while another person shrugs it off within minutes? The difference isn't in the event itself, it lies in how we choose to see it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Imagine that. The power to revoke your suffering is already in your hands. You may not control what happens, but you do control what it means. And once you grasp that, your entire life begins to change. Think about it. How many times have you replayed an insult in your head, long after the person who said it forgot? How often have you stayed awake at night, not because of what happened, but because of what you feared might happen? How much of your suffering was not from reality itself, but from the story you told yourself about reality? This is where Stoicism begins. It isn't about escaping pain or pretending the world is kind when it isn't. It's about seeing clearly, about recognizing that most of our distress comes not from the events themselves, but from our judgments of those events. And here lies the liberating truth. If our judgments create suffering, then new judgments can dissolve it. Welcome back to Stoic Havenway, where we uncover the wisdom of ancient philosophy and learn how to apply it to the challenges of modern life. Today, I want to share with you 8 Stoic principles that will help you let go of what no longer serves you and embrace the serenity that comes when you stop being ruled by what is outside your control. So let's begin with the cornerstone, the very first principle. Focus on what you can control. Principle 1. Focus on what you can control. The heart of Stoicism is a simple but profoundly difficult lesson. Most of the things that consume us, our fears, our anger, our stress, are tied to things we do not control. The weather, the economy, other people's opinions, their choices, their betrayals. These are beyond us, and yet we spend so much of our lives chained to them. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that to obsess over what lies outside our reach is to guarantee disappointment. It is like standing on the shore and commanding the tide not to rise. No matter how loud you scream, the water will keep moving. But here's the gift. While you cannot stop the tide, you can learn to sail it. Does this mean we should ignore what we cannot control? No. The Stoics never taught indifference in the sense of carelessness. They taught acceptance. To accept that the world will be what it is, that fortune will rise and fall, that people will act as they will, and to release the poison of demanding otherwise. When you stop resisting what you cannot change, your energy shifts. Suddenly you can devote your full attention to the one domain where your power is absolute: your own mind, your own actions, your own choices. Picture a storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes, the trees bend. Most people are swept away in fear and anger at the storm itself. But the Stoic asks a different question. What can I do here? What is mine to command? And in answering that, they find calm, the power of responsibility. This principle also reveals a deeper truth: responsibility. The Stoics believe that every human being holds the power to shape their inner world, no matter what the outer world brings. Epictetus, born a slave, crippled in body but free in spirit, embodied this. He declared, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus himself can overpower my will. Think about the radical strength in those words. A man stripped of freedom, stripped of wealth, stripped even of health, could still say, "My attitude is mine, my judgment is mine, my response is mine." What then could truly enslave him? This is the essence of Stoicism. Freedom is not found in external circumstances, but in mastery of the self, building inner strength. When you focus on what you can control, something else begins to grow inside you: resilience. It's like building a fortress brick by brick, not against the world, but within yourself. The storms of life will come, but when your foundation is strong, you remain unshaken. Imagine walking into a difficult day. Your boss criticizes you unfairly. A friend forgets an important promise. Plans fall apart. You cannot control their actions, nor the randomness of events. But you can control whether you spiral into rage, or whether you pause, breathe, and choose a response aligned with your values. This doesn't mean you ignore injustice or accept mistreatment. It means you respond with clarity, not chaos. You decide, "This is how I will act, regardless of how others behave." And over time, this practice builds strength, a calmness others cannot rattle, a steadiness that carries you through loss, rejection, even betrayal. This is why the Stoics called it freedom, because nothing outside you can shake the fortress you have built within, the practice of self-reflection. But how do we live this out? Day by day, the Stoics taught the practice of self-reflection. Every evening, Marcus Aurelius would examine his thoughts and actions. Where did I allow anger to control me? Where did I chase what was not mine to command? Where did I act according to my values? This habit is not about judgment or shame. It is about awareness. By examining ourselves, we begin to see where we are wasting energy on the uncontrollable. Slowly, we learn to release it. Ask yourself, how often do you cling to outcomes beyond your reach? How much energy is spent worrying about what others think, rather than living according to your principles? Through reflection, you begin to cut these chains. And in cutting them, you step into freedom. Living with inner peace. Ultimately, this first principle is not just about control, it is about peace. When you direct your energy toward what is yours, you stop bleeding it out on what isn't. You stop fighting battles you cannot win, and instead you invest in the one victory always available: mastery of yourself. This does not make life easy, but it makes life meaningful. It allows you to walk into challenges with grace, into setbacks with composure, into uncertainty with calm. Because no matter what happens, you know your response is yours alone. So think about it. How often do you waste your strength stressing over matters you will never change? Isn't it time to break that cycle? The next time worry grips you, pause and ask, is this within my control? If it is, act with courage. If it is not, let it go. That is freedom. That is the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. And it is the first step toward a life of serenity. And this brings us to the second great truth of Stoicism. Once we learn to master our response and focus only on what is ours, we face the next lesson. Everything is temporary. Nothing in life is permanent. Not joy, not sorrow, not success, not failure. The Stoics remind us that to live well, we must accept the fleeting nature of all things. So let us turn now to the next principle: acceptance of impermanence. Having seen how peace begins with focusing only on what lies within our control, We now arrive at the second great lesson of Stoicism, the acceptance of impermanence. If control anchors us, impermanence teaches us to flow. Life, as Epictetus explained, is a constant unfolding. Nothing remains the same. Not the turning of the seasons, not the tides of the ocean, not even the closest of human relationships. Everything shifts, transforms, and eventually passes. The Stoic path does not urge us to fight against this truth, but to recognize it, and even to find solace in it. For when we embrace impermanence, we stop grasping at what cannot be held, and instead we begin to truly live in the present moment. Think about it. How many times have you tried to hold on so tightly to something, a friendship, a success, a moment of happiness, only to feel it slipping through your fingers? The harder you clutched, the more painful the loss became. The Stoics would say this pain came not from the change itself, but from your refusal to accept that change is woven into the fabric of existence. Everything is subject to transformation. Rather than resisting the current, Stoic philosophy encourages us to let ourselves move with it. Resisting only creates tension, disappointment, and frustration. But when we acknowledge that nothing in life is permanent, we develop resilience. We no longer cling desperately to possessions, people, or circumstances. Instead, we learn to appreciate them while they are here, knowing they will not last forever. And strangely, that awareness makes them even more precious. This shift of perspective, from clinging to accepting, turns our attention inward. We stop measuring happiness by what is happening outside us, and instead look for fulfillment within. Epictetus reminded us that joy should never be contingent upon external conditions. If our peace depends on other people's opinions or on achievements we cannot fully control, then our peace will forever be fragile. So what is the alternative? To build self-reliance and inner harmony. This means developing self-awareness, asking ourselves what we truly value, what principles matter most, and then aligning our actions with those principles. The storms of life will still come, but with this foundation we face them with dignity rather than despair. By embracing impermanence, we gain wisdom. We see that loss is not always destruction, it is often growth in disguise. We recognize that change, though uncomfortable, is the very condition that allows us to evolve. Just as a tree must shed its leaves to prepare for new ones, we too must release certain attachments if we are to grow. And let us be clear, letting go of attachments does not mean we care less. It does not mean we stop striving or abandon ambition. Instead, it means we can cherish each moment fully while it is here, without demanding it remain unchanged. This is how impermanence liberates us, by teaching us to live fully in the present. Remember this, change is the only constant in life. By welcoming it, rather than resisting it, we unlock a freedom that fear can never touch. With that, we move naturally to the next Stoic principle. If impermanence shows us that life is always shifting, then perspective shows us how to interpret those shifts. And here we turn to Seneca, who reminds us that obstacles are not just barriers, they are also opportunities. Having just embraced the truth of impermanence, we learned that change is the only constant in life. Once we stop clinging to what we cannot hold, we create the space to see challenges differently. And this leads us directly into the next Stoic lesson, the power of perspective. Seneca often reminded us that adversity itself is not what breaks us, it is our perception of it. When faced with hardship, he encouraged us to pause, to take a step back, and to ask, Is there another way to see this? Is there a hidden lesson, a silver lining I have not yet uncovered? This shift is powerful. By simply altering the way we interpret events, we transform not just the event, but also our experience of life. Think of a time you faced what seemed like an impossible setback. At first, the weight felt unbearable, but with distance, that same trial became a teacher, shaping your strength, refining your character, preparing you for something greater. This is the heart of perspective. The obstacle that once felt like a wall becomes, with time and clarity, a doorway. When we embrace the power of perspective, our outlook changes. Instead of being crushed by what happens to us, we rise above it. We begin to see that our minds hold the ability to redefine any situation. And in doing so, we gain resilience that no circumstance can take away. Principle 4. Practicing gratitude. Flowing naturally from perspective is the virtue of gratitude. For the Stoics, gratitude was not optional, it was essential. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly emphasized the importance of giving thanks. He believed gratitude was the path to inner peace, even in times of hardship. By acknowledging and appreciating the blessings in our lives, no matter how small, we cultivate a mindset of abundance. Gratitude shifts our focus from what is lacking to what is already present. This change in perspective is central to Stoic philosophy because it anchors us in the here and now, where contentment is always possible. Think about how often life's simple joys slip past us unnoticed. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of the sun, the quiet beauty of nature. Gratitude calls us back to these small treasures. It teaches us that happiness does not depend on grand achievements or material possessions, but on recognizing the value of what we already hold. The Stoics believed that gratitude builds resilience. By appreciating what is, we reduce the restless desire for more. We stop chasing validation from others, and instead we find strength within ourselves. Marcus Aurelius urged himself and us to pause and reflect. Am I grateful for this day, this breath, this chance to live according to virtue? Gratitude is not merely a fleeting emotion or a polite response. It is a way of life, a daily practice. Each time we choose gratitude, we shift from scarcity to abundance. We begin to see that even amidst difficulty, there is always something to hold with appreciation, and gratitude does more than ease our struggles. It allows us to find joy in life's simplest pleasures, to delight in the beauty of nature, to treasure the warmth of connection, to cherish moments that might otherwise pass us by. In conclusion, gratitude holds a prominent place in Stoic philosophy because it transforms how we move through the world. It helps us look beyond our challenges and see the blessings that quietly surround us. When we nurture gratitude daily, we tap into its transformative power. We enhance our sense of peace, our resilience, and our overall well-being. Marcus Aurelius himself emphasized, gratitude leads to inner peace and happiness. It opens the path to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. So let us pause even now and reflect. What are we grateful for today? Is it the love of family, the kindness of a friend, or the beauty of the world just outside our window? By cultivating gratitude, we align ourselves with the abundant wonders of existence, and in that abundance, we prepare ourselves for the next lesson of Stoicism, the art of letting go. Having just explored gratitude as a daily discipline that transforms our perception, we now arrive at a principle that feels both liberating and challenging, the art of letting go. If gratitude opens our eyes to what we already have, then letting go teaches us how to release what we were never meant to hold. The Stoics remind us that much of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our desperate clinging to how we thought things should be. When we invest too heavily in our expectations, we chain ourselves to anxiety. We replay scenarios in our heads asking, "Why didn't it happen the way I wanted?" But reality is under no obligation to match our script. By learning to detach from external outcomes and shift our focus inward, on our own thoughts, actions, and choices, we reclaim the power to dictate our happiness and well-being. Practicing the art of letting go is like opening a tightly clenched fist. At first it feels unnatural, almost frightening, but slowly as the grip loosens, freedom returns. We begin to see ourselves more clearly, to understand our place in the world, and to accept things as they are, rather than endlessly wrestling with what we wish them to be. So how do we cultivate this art? One way is through gratitude. When we are truly grateful for what we have, our attention shifts away from what we lack or endlessly crave. Gratitude roots us in the present, teaching us to savor blessings instead of chasing after the next possession, achievement, or approval. It reminds us that true happiness does not come from external rewards, it comes from within. Another essential aspect of letting go is forgiveness. How often do we carry anger, resentment, or grudges, believing they punish others, when in truth they only weigh us down? The Stoics saw resentment as poison, harming the one who holds it more than the one who caused it. To forgive does not mean to excuse or forget what was done. It means to release ourselves from the heavy burden of bitterness. In letting go, we create space for healing, growth, and peace. Letting go also means surrendering the need for control. How many times have you tried to micromanage every detail of your life, fearing that without your grip, everything would fall apart? Yet life is far bigger than our plans. By relinquishing this need to control, we open ourselves to possibilities we could not have imagined. We begin to embrace uncertainty as a natural part of existence, trusting that every turn, even the unwelcome ones, can shape us in ways we did not expect. This practice requires patience and self-reflection. It asks us to look honestly at our attachments, our desires, expectations, and illusions, and to see which ones hinder our growth. The process is ongoing, never complete in a single moment, but each step brings immense freedom. Each release opens space for peace, for new beginnings, for unexpected opportunities. Think of it like clearing a crowded room. At first it feels empty when you remove what no longer belongs. But soon you realize the space allows light to enter, air to circulate, and life to flow freely again. Letting go works the same way in our hearts. Ultimately, the art of letting go is not about losing, it is about living. It is about thriving in the present moment, no longer imprisoned by what we cling to or by what never truly belonged to us. It is about discovering that our real strength lies not in control, but in trust, in choosing our response no matter what comes. So let us embark on this journey of self-discovery and liberation. Let us practice letting go of what weighs us down, so we can rise into who we are meant to become. And remember, the power to choose our response, to release, to forgive, to move forward, has always been ours. With this freedom in mind, we now turn to the next Stoic principle. If letting go creates space within us, what should fill that space? Seneca gives us the answer: virtue as the highest good. From the art of letting go, we now move naturally into a principle that defines the very core of Stoic living: virtue as the highest good. If letting go frees us from unhealthy attachments, Then virtue gives us a compass to live with clarity and purpose. According to Seneca, our worth as human beings is not measured by the size of our bank accounts or the number of titles and accolades attached to our name. True value lies in the goodness of our hearts and the sincerity of our actions. In a world obsessed with wealth, image, and superficial recognition, Seneca's teaching offers a refreshing and grounding perspective. When we prioritize virtues such as kindness, empathy, and wisdom, life gains depth and meaning. These qualities guide us like a lantern in the dark, allowing us to walk with a clear conscience and a sense of inner direction. Instead of being driven by selfish desires or the pursuit of fleeting pleasures, we discover fulfillment in helping others, showing compassion, and seeking truth. It is through these virtuous actions that we not only grow personally, but also leave a positive mark on the lives of those around us. Seneca's philosophy urges us to focus on what truly matters, the quality of our relationships, the respect we show to others, and the impact we have on the world. He reminds us that dignity and respect are owed to every person, regardless of social standing or material wealth. Virtue levels the playing field. It allows us to escape the endless cycle of chasing validation, and instead root our happiness in integrity and inner peace. In a society that often places wealth and fame above all else, Seneca's wisdom is a powerful reminder that true happiness cannot be purchased or faked. It is cultivated within, through the daily practice of virtue, honesty, and compassion. By nurturing these values, we create a meaningful existence that brings lasting joy and peace of mind. So let us take this to heart. Let us remember Seneca's call to embody kindness, empathy, and wisdom in every choice. After all, it is not the possessions we collect, but the character we shape that defines who we truly are. When we prioritize virtue, we pave the way toward a life rich with harmony, both within ourselves and in the world we touch. Principle 7. Memento Mori from virtue. The Stoics guide us into one of the most humbling and transformative truths. Memento mori, remember that you must die. In today's fast-paced world, it is easy to get swept up in endless tasks, distractions, and obligations. We lose sight of the invaluable nature of time. Memento mori serves as a gentle but powerful reminder. Pause, reflect, and remember the brevity of life. By acknowledging that our time on earth is limited, we are compelled to live more consciously. This truth forces us to align our decisions with our deepest values. It pushes us to move toward our true aspirations, instead of wasting energy on what is shallow or meaningless. Embracing memento mori empowers us to live with purpose and urgency, not with panic, but with clarity. It frees us from the weight of regret by urging us to seize opportunities while they are in front of us, whether it is pursuing a passion long postponed, nurturing meaningful connections, or simply appreciating a fleeting sunset. Memento mori teaches us to embrace the present moment fully, but its meaning extends beyond personal ambition. It also speaks to the way we treat others. When we recognize that every encounter could be our last with someone, we approach our relationships differently. We soften our words, listen more deeply, and infuse our interactions with warmth and authenticity. What legacy do we leave in the hearts of others? Memento mori challenges us to make each connection meaningful, knowing that time is never guaranteed. In a culture that often prizes material possessions and temporary pleasures, this philosophy shines as a beacon. It reorients us toward what truly matters, the beauty of life's fleeting moments, the depth of love, and the impact we leave behind. It reminds us to live each day with intention, because every day is borrowed time. So ask yourself, if today were your last day, how would you live it? What words would you speak? What actions would you take? Would you waste it on resentment, or would you fill it with kindness and courage? To remember death is not to despair, it is to live more fully. From the reminder of memento mori, that our days are fleeting and our time limited, we now step into the final Stoic principle, one that brings all the others together. Amor fati, love your fate. Picture this for a moment. Life hands you something you never asked for. It could be an unexpected loss, a crushing failure, or a sudden turn that leaves you shaken to your core. Most people respond with resistance. They ask, why me? They complain, they cling to the way things should have been. Yet the Stoics offer a far greater path. Don't just endure your fate, and don't merely accept it, love it. This is the heart of Amor fati. To simply survive what life throws at you is one thing. To accept it with resignation is another. But to love life as it unfolds exactly as it is, without wishing it were different, that is the highest art of living. Amor fati teaches us to welcome every twist in the road, every scar and every detour, not as enemies but as necessary companions. What you call misfortune today may be the very soil from which tomorrow's wisdom will grow. Think of fire. Every obstacle thrown into it, wood, ashes, even debris, only fuels the flame, making it burn brighter. So it is with your soul. Every hardship, every loss, every rejection is fuel for your strength. The Stoics would say, do not love only the sunshine. Love the storm too, for both belong to your journey. Marcus Aurelius wrote, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it. To practice amor fati is to see that nothing is wasted. The heartbreaks, the mistakes, the failures, they are not meaningless accidents. They are the brushstrokes on the canvas of your life. But let us be clear, to love your fate does not mean pretending that pain is pleasant, nor does it mean giving up on striving for better. Instead, it is the deep understanding that life is not working against you. It is shaping you. Every single event, even those that break you, are part of the story that makes you unbreakable. To resist your fate is to resist reality itself. But to love it, that is true freedom. Consider this. What if that closed door you once despised was the very thing that redirected you toward a better one? What if the heartbreak you thought would destroy you was actually the teacher that forced you to discover your own strength? Amor fati invites us to look back at every scar and whisper, thank you. This principle also calls us to live with trust. Trust that the universe, in all its mystery, is not random chaos but a rhythm beyond our comprehension. To love your fate is to stand tall in that trust, even when the meaning is not yet clear. It is to walk forward with courage, knowing that both joy and sorrow have their rightful place. Nietzsche, though not a Stoic, echoed this idea with striking clarity. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different. Not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. That is true power. Not to wish for a different past, not to curse the present, not to dread the future, but to embrace it all with open arms. And here lies the paradox. When you love your fate, you are no longer chained to it. You do not merely survive, you transcend. The things that once crushed you become stepping stones. The nights that once terrified you become part of the constellation that now guides you. Suddenly, nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. So let this be your reminder. Don't just carry your fate, kiss it. Don't just tolerate the journey, celebrate it. Every event, no matter how painful, has shaped the person you are becoming. And when you practice amor fati, you will discover that the very weight you thought was holding you down was actually teaching you how to rise. My friends, these 8 Stoic principles are not abstract theories. They are living wisdom, guides to help us face reality with strength, calm, and grace. From focusing on what you can control, to accepting impermanence, from gratitude to letting go, from virtue to remembering death, and finally, to loving your fate. Together they form a path toward true serenity and resilience. If today's message has given you something to reflect on, I invite you to stay with us on this journey. Subscribe to Stoic Havenway, where we explore timeless wisdom to help you live with clarity and purpose. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for walking this path alongside me. And until next time, live fully, live wisely, and remember amor fati.